Hi, everybody. I hope you all you see my first slide and not my notes, because I do have a lot of notes, because I normally don't speak in English, and so bear with me if even with my notes, I might not be that great in English. Yeah, welcome to this meetup. I think it's an automation advocates meeting, and I might have a little disappointment for you later on when we talk about automation. But yeah, first of all, I really have to do the great thank you to Cosmic, because you do not know it. Normally, I'm located near Frankfurt, and today I'm in Cologne, and this is why my background seems a little strange, probably to you. But I'm allowed to use a company office here today, and I'm very grateful for this, because otherwise I couldn't have attended this in the end. So that that's that. Who am I? I think, Johannes, you already said everything I wanted to say with this slide. I have an economic background, but did my master's degree a few years ago, as Johannes said already. I'm always looking for ways to bring different views together. So the economic or not also always the technical view. And so when I learned about BDD, I was jumping into it, because BDD, as we will see, has different sides to it. And besides the BDD, there are some other topics I'm allowed to talk about at conferences from time to time, like home offices, people in agile teams, introverts and extroverts. See, it's a wide range. And of course, I also have to earn money sometimes. So I'm working as a consultant, mostly as business analyst or test and QA person, or I would like to work as a Scrum Master in the future. So I put it on this slide in case some of you need a Scrum Master, just call me. And last but not least, I have the BDD workshop for everyone who might be interested in a deeper dive afterwards. You might have a look at the website. I'm a trainer for Secretary for the first time this year, but I also do in-house trainings or whatever would be convenient for you. So I already asked you to put the questions into the chat. So I think we are ready to start now and talk about software behavior. This was actually one of the first pictures I saw, and it was about waterfall software development when I was joining university. And I think most of you will probably know it. It was supposed to show us why agile development is so much better than waterfall. But to be honest, as soon as I was working in my first team after university, I realized we often still work like this, shown in these pictures. The only difference is that now we assign a Jira ticket to another person instead of giving them documents in Word or whatever. But in the end, a PO writes down any requirements, the analysts formulate it into user stories, then we pass it on to a development team. And then at the end comes the person who tests what they understood our software should do. And often they do the testing without ever talking to the client or to the PO before. So now might be the point for the little disappointment. I have to tell you, I know even if it's an automation meetup, the main purpose of BDD is not automating tests. It's not even a testing method, I would say. Some people disagree. Using BDD is, first of all, a development method that is about communication and collaboration between everyone who's involved in developing our software. And I'm trying to give you a short overview and some ideas how to do this. And I hope you will agree that it's a great development method, and you will see that you also have some automating tests out of it. So if you look at BDD in a nutshell, it's the entire development is always driven by the question of how our software should behave in the end, and we look from the user's point of view. So to get there, we talk to as many stakeholders as possible right from the start, and then we find concrete examples that describe this behavior. And by using these examples, we have acceptance criteria, and these we can measure at the end and see whether our implementation corresponds to the behavior that we described in the beginning. And because of this, some people refer to behavior-driven development as acceptance test-driven development. So I don't care as long as we are doing the same things. So what are we going to do? In software development, there are 3 roles, and I think everyone who's is in a development team knows those 3 central roles. It's first the product owner in Agile, or some business analyst or product manager or whoever, and they are first and foremost interest is to meet the goals of the organization, consider them in the requirements. In the end, the product should earn us money and should meet the expectations of business stakeholders. So the PO's view is always to ask what problem are we trying to solve, and then comes a coder and needs some clarity about the scope to decide how these goals can be technically implemented and what information the development team will need for doing this. So they consider what could a solution to this problem look like, what else do we need to know about the problem. And last but not least, a person comes in whose job is mostly to find flaws and maybe even left the app crash by not doing what a PO and a coder expected them to do. So the more context the tester knows about the product, the easier they will find meaningful tests. So they ask what would happen if, I don't know, whatever we are going to do. So in BDD, we are going to bring these three roles at one table together right from the start and look at the requirements together. And we call this 3 Amigos workshop, or you might also say simply refinement. Up to you. And the aim of these 3 Amigos is to bring together the 3 different points of view, have a common understanding of a requirement, ensure its quality, basically agree to acceptance criteria that result from our talking together. So there might also be more than 3 people. Sometimes it's good to have another UX person with you, for example, but you should not have too many people, as the coordination will be very difficult otherwise. So we can take a user story as a starting point, which focuses on what the user wants and why they want it. And then we will find concrete examples together to understand what this actually means. So how should our software behave in a certain situation? What do we expect? And what problems can possibly appear? So to do this, we use a pattern that you already might know. It's called Gherkin, and there we write down our so-called scenarios, our examples for how our software should behave. And first of all, we just describe our feature. You describe it in your normal natural language. You don't have to, as you might have to write it as long as you want. We can do it in the user story pattern. As a user, I want X because of Y, or however you want this. Afterwards, we create different scenarios or examples where we look at different scenarios again. And and then we have to go into our pattern, because we know that we have to have the keyword scenario, and afterwards we start with a keyword given that is giving us a specific context where we are. Then we have a when an event happens, like here, when all mandatory fields for a customer's creating a customer's account are filled in. Then we expect a given outcome or a specific outcome. And beside these keywords, we are totally free in our language. So also with the keywords, we're kind of free, because we can also use them in German, in, I don't know, Chinese, Turkish. There's even a language like pirate language. I don't know if anybody really uses it, but you might use it. And besides the keywords, you can everything formulate in your natural language. So you will find later on that while you're doing this, you already also develop a ubiquitous language for your project. So like this, we are going to write different scenarios. Here, the feature is, as you already see, we want to have an account. And yeah, might be everything is like we thought it might be, though it's the happy path. People are going to give us all their details, and then we create an account. But it might also be that a person doesn't fill in her name, or anything else happens. So the account might not be created. We might have an error message, whatever. So we have to talk about all these things, describe them in our feature, on our functionality. It's sometimes a little different to find the right granularity. I don't know if this is really an English word. So you can have different flight levels, some people say, and it's not always as easy. But I think that's for every test we write, it's the same thing, to find a good way to look into the details, but not in every little detail. So we just have to look what works for us. So when we have described this behavior of the software in this way, then we have communicated really intensively about it. We have developed a common understanding, because normally we don't just write them down. We have to discuss them. Did you mean, what should it do if this happens or that happens? And so we get this common understanding, and we have a documentation with the examples that reflect the current status of our user expectations in the end. So we have a kind of a living documentation, and that's also a very great bonus in my eyes. So now, for all of you who are waiting for the test automation, the test word actually comes in, because as soon as we have all those examples, we might use them to get to a test-driven development approach. I think most of you will know what test-driven development is. Just to be on the same page here, it really means, first of all, we write a test, and that's already where BDD comes in, because we actually have already kind of a test, because we have these examples, these scenarios, and we can take over any example as a test case in our development, and develop the software against this specification, against this acceptance criteria. So we add a test that will obviously fail, because we didn't write any code up to now. So yeah, of course, test would fail. Then we would write exactly enough code to turn our test green, and in the end we can refactor our code, so we improve it, make it more understandable, more readable, and we check after each change that the test is still green, so we use our scenario for that as well. So I brought you a little example. It's very easy. It's a very easy one to just to get the hang on it. But it's actually taken from a real project where we wanted to be sure, we're very sure about our error messages. So we usually started with with an example by talking about the so-called happy path. But I cut this out here, and we are already looking at the exceptions. So what would happen if a person does not provide valid data? And as you see, the feature, we here have just a kind of a user story, and then we have different scenarios for different data fields. As I said earlier, the biggest challenge is to find the right granularity for when creating those examples. These one, they really might be a bit too specific, because basically you can say if it gets boring to formulate these examples, they are too fine-grained, and that might be the case here. But we wanted to have it like this, and wanted to be sure, so rewrote them like this. You might have noticed that there are some given steps, where they are both in both the scenarios. There's the same given step. So if we do have scenarios where we always have the same context, so our givens, or also maybe sometimes also the when step or other steps are always the same, then we can give them to the background, have to write them only one time, and only write into the scenarios what is different between this. So this might be a little introduction, not very, you might not have the hang for it already. So I'm trying to give you a short demo. I don't know if you saw, I had this customer feature file added to my project, and then I might just use Cucumber, Gherkin, and give them any context about my feature. I don't know. It's customer. I don't write anything else here. I just want to have you a very quick glimpse here. So afterwards, I would say I'm going to have a scenario. It might be a new customer, for example, and then I give them when I have a new customer, and I catch. You see, I didn't really. I'm a little out of it because of this screen here. These screen problems. I don't know exactly what I wanted to write here, but I hope it won't. I think I had it here. I have it in my notes, so I just will copy and paste it, and hope this will work. Okay. Okay. So that's a already formulated features. You see, it's already always in natural language. As I told you earlier, in the feature, you might write down whatever you want. Here I have this background thing, because for every scenario, my given step, so my context is that a personal account is created. And then I have different scenarios, as we already saw on the slides. The person does not enter their name, not enter their birth date, but if this is provided, then customer ID is created. So we have different scenarios here. And our IDE already shows us that something is not right, because, what should we do with it now? And I think, I don't know about every IDE, but at least Eclipse and IntelliJ might help us here. And if I'm going here, they already say undefined step reference. So actually, we don't know what this step means. What are we going to do? We have to tell them, we have to give some so-called clue code that is a translation between our normal or our natural language here and the code we later on will write. So what we are doing actually is creating a step definition. We might let us help here and tell them, okay, give us this and now I don't want to add this. And as you might see here, now we do have a step definition or a class with step definitions. And we just take this natural language step into a new method. You can choose if you want it with camel case like I do, or maybe you don't want it like this, but that's only sugarcoating. The important thing is that we now have a method and can, with this method, tell what, give the connection between this language, not natural languages, feature files, and our code that we just have to write. We didn't write it until now. So first thing I would do probably is something like, okay, new personal account is created. So I would imagine what I need is a person probably, and would say something like, what I'm doing here is having a new person. Like you see, and like everyone would have imagined, the person is already is not here, so I might need a new class for creating person. And I just will go into the future in a few seconds to another state of my project, but I wanted to give you a first impression. That is how we start. Now, the next thing would be that we are thinking about, okay, we need a class for a person. And that's the way we are going forward. We always have this little snippet, and we always think about, what does this snippet mean when a name is empty? What does this mean? What kind of classes do I need? What kind of methods do I need to to give this information in my code? And lastly, have my software behave in the way I wanted them. So I'm going to remove this and show you, because if you're interested in a deeper dive, just remember my 2-day workshop. Now I'm stopping with advertisement in a minute, but we don't have time to look too long here. So I will go a step further. Like this, and you might see that now we already did some implementation, so we do have a class that's class person, and I even have some other things implemented, like a validator that validates if a birth date is valid or a name is valid. And I have these step definitions here. Now there's a little more into it. If I go again to the feature file, you might see that most of the scenarios now have some clue code behind them, so we don't have this yellow, I don't know the word for it, yellow. I think you know what I mean. So there are only a few little steps that are still not defined, and we have to define those steps as well. But before I do that for a manual, I want to show you something, because if I'm going to run all tests now, you will see that the tests all are failing because there's not, I don't have the code in the background, etc. But I can always have here I get this proposal for an implementation. And what's really better than just having IntelliJ do these, have these steps, let you give the steps, is that here you will throw a new exception if you don't have any code written yet. Because normally if you remember right a few minutes ago, I just let IntelliJ have this, create this method, but it was then it is an empty method. And as soon as I'm trying to run all tests, they are all green because nothing happens. So it might be better if you're using these snippets here that you will get when you try to do anything, and put these snippets into your step definitions, and afterwards, so what's the matter with the given? Don't I have an input for given? Yeah. Okay, I don't know why, because, but okay, where's this? You see, I'm not very used to the Mac, so I don't know how to have this sign I'm looking for. This one, this asterisk. I don't know. So, but we made it. So now you see we have here this given a new personal account is created. Now we already have this person class, and we actually do have a person here. So everything I think I have to do is tell the person that she will be, or they will be, a new person. So person and next would be our step in natural language is the name is empty, so we should think about what does that mean. Okay, some person is giving us I can't speak and write at the same time. The person is giving us their name. I do have some very simple setters and getters in this example, and they are giving us an empty string, and I think the rest of this I already implemented. So you see, for every it's kind of a regular expression. We do now have a method or in the then steps as they are providing our outcome. We do have an assertion that will show us if our software is working in the way that we wanted then. Not sure if I do have everything now, but let's just run a test and have a look at it. Obviously, I didn't do everything right because here's already still a red test, but the other ones are green. So kind of a part of our software obviously does whatever it should it do. So this was a very, very, very short introduction into the code. I know that, and I'm sorry, but I don't have too much time. Will show you another implementation. Okay, I do have some changes. I will go back for now. So you might see what there's little things I want to show you. You might also have obviously different directories, and sometimes I do something like this. There are manual tests in my directories. This is a very complicated use case. It's actually from an existing or from a real project. I had this web application, and there were lots of dependencies in in the business logic. So I needed, and I was a business analyst and a tester in this project, and I wanted to be sure in the end that all those dependencies are really, really here. And it was quite difficult to get them all in, or to have an end-to-end test automated. So I just designed my own manual test. And as you might see, it's very long, something like, if you are giving this data in this, I just realized it's German. I'm sorry for that. Most of you won't be able to understand it. It's like, if in field street there is no, there is some input, and in there's given a street an zip code, name, whatever, email, phone number, and some things happen, then I expect about 3 pages later that something special happens. And I wanted to have this test in the coding because of the Git, of the version control. I always wanted to be sure that I have the actual test. So in this cases, I just define it as a manual test, and I can have either something like this here. So I just say, I'm just going to test the features that are in the directory tests for automation, or I can also do, let me look, something like annotations. Like here, I have an annotation for newsletter, and then I can go and say, I only want to test those features that have the annotation newsletter, or I don't want them to run with my tests. So I can create different test suites, like if I want to have different tests here. So with this said, I think I'm trying to come back to my presentation because there are a few little things I wanted to tell you. So we had the demo. Just in case you wondered, I think you might already have the solution for this, but yeah, let's talk about for a minute. If you have change requests in your code, you might either have additional requirements that might be very easy because you just have to add new scenarios there. Then from these scenarios, you have new additional tests. You have to look if the tests you have still pass. Probably they won't. So if they do, okay, then you just might refactor again, but normally you will have to write some new code or change the code that you already have. And the nice thing is that the documentation is automatically updated whenever you have additional requirements put into your new feature files and into your code. Or the best thing probably is, as I said in the beginning, that you are talking about it, but afterwards it's nice to have it in the documentation as well. And if you have change requirements, so really something that, even if all your communication and collaboration was great, something, you notice in the end that something is not like you imagined it, then you might change your scenarios, and that's a little, more, you have to do a little more about it, and you have to change the scenario. Therefore, you have changed tests, you have changed the code, so you rewrite the tests actually, rewrite the code. But also here, the documentation is automatically updated, and I think that's a very big bonus. So in the end, I think what you really should have in mind is that the focus of BDD is always in the interaction between business and technology. This natural language we are using is for. I didn't show you explicitly in IntelliJ, but you might have noticed that when you are getting the test results, they are already they are still written in this natural language. So even if your PO doesn't know any code, they will be able to read the results of your tests. And I think that is one of the best things about BDD. As I told you earlier, ubiquitous language will evolve automatically. It's easier to speak with this natural language, not only read the tests, but also talk about your software in the beginning. And obviously, through talking with this three amigos principle, you absolutely promote common understanding. And as I showed you, not all scenarios need to become automated tests. The whole point is really, really, really to talk about it, to communicate as long as it's necessary, so everybody's on the same page about understanding what your software should do in the end. And then you can go and get there together. And with this, I'm going to say thank you. I hope even if we had some difficulties with my screen, etc., I hope you got something out of it. Just don't hesitate to ask me, write to me at mail@womenintech.online, or add me on LinkedIn, or you will find me on Mastodon. Thank you very much for having me here, and